I'm convinced that Steve Kerr actually watches Warriors Today by Chat Sports, and why wouldn't he? We've been talking about switching up the lineup. You guys have been commenting it. Well, it might finally be happening. I am your host of Warriors Today, Allie Barefoot. Producer Chip is right here to my left, and Steve Kerr is right here, and he told media last night after the win against the Portland Trail Blazers, he's actually open to switching the starting lineup around depending on who they're going to be playing and seeing which resources and players fit best for that matchup. It is finally happening. I'm not saying he's going to take everything and change it all, but it's nice to know that new players are going to be coming into the rotation, and we're going to actually start seeing those key players get the minutes that they deserve, like Podziemski, Jonathan Kuminga, Moody, etc., if he means what he says. Now, overall, before I put any information in your head, give you all the lowdown stats, and break down key players that Steve Kerr could actually use in the rotation, I want to hear from you guys. Drop down in the comments right now. Name your ideal starting five lineup for the Warriors if Steve Kerr is actually going to move these chess pieces around, fit that puzzle together, and see what's going to work for the Dubs moving forward. Because overall, this all started because Jonathan Kuminga popped off against the Portland Trail Blazers after sitting on the bench for 31 minutes. He dropped 13 points, had 2 steals, went 100% from the field, 6 for 6, and he did this all in 17 minutes. He showed Steve Kerr, look, I had that stay ready mindset. I was excited to get back into the ball game, and he could have just played it off. He could have said, you know what, they're not starting me tonight. I'm just not going to care. But that's not who JK is. He's a perfect fit for the Warriors, and I think he would be a great fit in the rotation night after night, getting more minutes. And I think that he proved to Steve Kerr, look, just because you started with these 5 guys doesn't mean you have to end with these 5 guys. Because did you know the Warriors have already used 9 different starting lineups throughout this NBA season? That's the second most in the NBA, right below the Miami Heat. And of course, they've had to do this because of Draymond Green's 5-game suspension, injuries with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Andrew Wiggins. So there's a lot of external factors to why he's had to change up his lineup. But the lineup that has averaged the most minutes for the Warriors so far this season has been these 5 players together right here. Chris Paul, Andrew Wiggins, Brandin Podziemski, Kevon Looney, and Dario. Now, they are actually the 3rd highest scoring lineup for the Dubs this season. Of course, the top 2 do include Steph Curry in some form, but that's a lineup I didn't ever think was on the court that much, but turns out they're almost averaging 17 minutes per game. Now, we all know this. Kerr plays his veterans. He said he has a long rope for players like Klay Thompson and Draymond Green, and that's fine. But apparently an ESPN source said that younger guys actually know this. They know their role. Yeah, we didn't need a source to tell us that. We're pretty aware that Brandin Podziemski doesn't get more playing time than Klay Thompson, despite having better games than Klay Thompson sometimes. But overall, here's what Steve Kerr says he wants to do moving forward. Every night's going to be different with this team. What we need each night seems to be different depending on the matchup, depending on how the game's going, and it's hard to predict what's going to happen each night. It's also hard to play 10 to 11 guys per night. We don't have roster clarity in terms of who's going to play every single night. Well, that's okay. A lot of teams in the NBA actually do this. I know the Boston Celtics do this as well. I would rather you play the best players for that matchup than continuously start a player that hasn't been playing well. Well, somebody that has been is Jonathan Kuminga. If you guys want to see more minutes on the floor for JK, go on ahead and type JK down in the comments if he's actually want to get more minutes with Steve Kerr's new rotation process. But up next, we are going to break down some key players that do deserve more minutes in Steve Kerr's experiment. But first, I want to tell you about today's sponsor. It is Prize Picks. It's my favorite daily fantasy sports app, and it adds a little bit more thrill to my game days. I'm playing it, Chip's playing it, and here's how you guys can too. Just pick between 2 to 6 players and pick more or less on their projected stats. And what's the beauty of Prize Picks is that it's crossover season, which means you've got some type of ball game every single night. Well, Prize Picks wants to adhere to that. You can actually combine your picks with NFL and basketball combined. There's an NFL game right now, tonight, Thursday Night Football, and there's also in-season tournament games. So why not going ahead and mix up my picks a little bit? I do have a nice combo rebound pick with Miles Turner and Giannis having more than 21 rebounds combined. That's going to be a good game. And then I have Ezekiel Elliott rushing for more than 60.5 yards, and Tyrese Halliburton has been popping off. Why not go ahead and pick him more 10.5 three-point attempted shots? Because life's too short. I always say pick the more. If you guys want to try it out, all you have to do is go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use promo code CLNS for first-time deposit match up to $100, and you can watch yourself win up to 25 times your money on any entry. Now, in my opinion, I am all for Steve Kerr switching up the starting lineups. You need to start the game the best way possible to get the Warriors off to a hot start. But I think it's the closers that have been a bit of an issue for the Warriors, giving up big leads, like the Clippers and the Kings, and almost losing to the Portland Trailblazers. So I want to hone in on 3 key players I think that even if they're not in the starting lineup, I would just like to see them playing more minutes towards the fourth quarter. And overall, to be honest. That first person, of course, is going to be Jonathan Kuminga, and I'm going to tell you why I want to see JK out there more. And I get it. JK has great games, and he has not so great games. That's been a theme with some of the Warriors this season. But overall, he is dominant in the paint. If they're not rim protecting, JK's driving, and that's what I really like, because the Warriors do play a lot of teams that aren't very good on interior D. And for example, the worst 5 NBA teams, the rim protectors under 6 feet. So these are the guys who are constantly in the paint, going up and trying to block Jonathan Kuminga's shots. Well, the Indiana Pacers are the worst. They've defended field goals made 25.3 beneath 6 feet. And then it goes all the way down to the Phoenix Suns. They defend 21.2 made field goals a game. It's not very good when you got a player like JK that can go down every single time. You got your perimeter completely covered with Klay Thompson and Steph Curry and etc. You want players like JK who are going to spread out the offense. Well, number 2, that means Moses Moody. I think Moody could be such an effective 3-and-D player. He averaged 26 minutes last night versus the Trailblazers. You had Klay Thompson and Wiggy with 27 minutes. But here's the thing, he had nearly 10 more points than both of those players. I think Moody can definitely be what you need to spread out the offense. He's really sneaky in the corner because, think about it, all the defenses are worried about Steph Curry around the perimeter. They're not thinking of Moses Moody. And Kerr tends to lean small ball when they do start to close out the game, which is why I think Moody is that little bit of sneaky height. He's a good shooting guard, but he's also effective on defense. And he's more critical in the fourth quarter situations. When you look at Andrew Wiggins and Moses Moody in the fourth quarter so far, they've played 13 games. Of course, Wiggins did have that injury with his finger, but they're making the same amount of field goals in the fourth quarter. But the field goal percentage, Moody's actually making these shots. And the three-point percentage, not terrible, about 3% difference. So it could be better for Moody being that 3-and-D type of player. But the fact that Wiggins and Moody are taking the same amount of shots, but Moses is actually making them, makes me think, why isn't Moody playing in the fourth quarter? But it's not up to me. It's up to Steve Kerr. But I want to hear what you guys have to say. Do you agree with me? Do you not? Go on ahead and pick a player you'd rather have in the lineup in the fourth quarter. Type AW for Andrew Wiggins. Type MM for Moses Moody. Go on ahead and drop that down below. I'm going with MM. I like the way that he has been playing so far in this game, in this season. Not just the fourth quarter. So why not go on ahead and put him in the rotation a little bit more? Last but not least, you know I've been on him. You guys have been on him. Brandin Podziemski is him. To me, he is the ultimate closer. He is Mr. Clutch, in my opinion. And I know Steve Kerr feels the exact same way because he's already told media he wants BP to play later in the games because of his court vision. But yet he didn't play in the Kings game when they lost at all. So I'm wondering if he's really going to stick to his word this time, actually give Brandin Podziemski the minutes that he deserves, because look at his advanced shooting stats. From his pull-up threes, he's 85.9%. That is incredible even for a rookie. And then when he's shooting actually in between the perimeter, less than 10 feet, 53%. It's not terrible. I'm here for it. Is less than 4 seconds. I wanted to point this out. No, that's not the best number ever, but he's making shots. He's taking shots while the shot clock winds down. This kid's confidence is through the roof, which is why I think he needs to be in your closing rotation. He doesn't have to start, but at least get him in the fourth quarter, especially when that lead gets a little bit too close. Overall, Steve Kerr did say after the Trailblazers win, he said there have been situations this year, obviously lost some big leads, Kings and Clippers, because we haven't been able to adapt quick enough in those kind of games. BP helps that, Steve Kerr. It's the same thing with coaches' decisions he has to make on a night-to-night basis. And I get it. I'm not Steve Kerr. I don't make millions of dollars. I've never been a head coach in my entire life. So I'm just here to say this is from a fan's perspective. This is from an analysis perspective of what I see night after night after a lead's been blown, and I'm tired of watching it. If Klay Thompson isn't playing good, then put Brandin Podziemski in. Put Moses Moody in when Wiggins isn't following with his shot. Steve Kerr has already said that he regretted taking Moody out when he was hot. So that's why I'm glad he's now open to changing the rotation. But will this lineup change hurt or help the Dubs? They're 10-11. I don't think a lot can hurt them right now. But overall, if you guys like the starting five that he's been playing and working with, go ahead and put that down in the comments. And if you guys are excited about a potential rotation change, well, tell me that too down in the comments below.